Okay, and it now tells you that it's being recorded too.
Yes.
All right, so if anybody has any questions during the presentation while I'm doing my slides, there's a chat box, a chat button right in the middle at the bottom of your screen. And you click the chat box and you could type in any of your questions and we can get to them right after I'm done with the presentation. And then if you don't want to put them in by typing them and you want to verbally ask them, I'll take them as well after we're done. Just stay muted for now so that you can hear me and you don't have any noise background or anything like that. Enjoy your your coffee, whatever you want to snack or eat. I don't care. I don't really look at you guys. I look at my slides and I let you guys see the slides as well. So I want to thank Stacy and the Macedon, they call it the different way of pronouncing it, New York Library. I'm a 8-year resident of Pompton Lakes, New Jersey, which is about 300 miles south of you guys or so. We got a lot of snow here as well. And I am the owner of a company called It's All Relative Genealogy, LLC. And I assist clients build family trees, do DNA tests, analyze their DNA, and anything related to that kind of stuff. I'm a member of the National Genealogical Society, and I've trained with them as well. And I was super happily married. I have a son, a daughter, and a bonus son, who's my stepson, and a 6-month-old Yorkshire Terrier puppy who gives us a lot of joy. And I got interested in the study of genealogy about 25 years ago. My starting goal was to find out about my biological family. Being adopted and being told at age 7 that I was adopted, I had no idea, obviously, who my biological parents were. And I didn't know what it meant either, except I was told that I was loved twice. So I thought that was cool. And and once my daughter got a little older, she was born in 97. So around that time, I started looking into finding out who my biological family were, but I had no information really. All I had was a hospital record that showed where I was born, how much it cost to have me give birth to me, which was very little back then, and a page of my final adoption decree. They showed the name of my natural mother as Rose Becker, and the name of a hotel in Miami, Florida. So I searched for 20 years on the assumption that Rose was young, possibly Orthodox Jewish from New York, and was sent down to Miami to give birth to me secretly. And that was a bad assumption. And I received information vital to my research by the Florida Adoption Reunion Registry that I signed up with many years before. And they told me my biological mother was 38 at the time of my birth and was from a Midwestern state with the letter I. So I searched for another bunch of years looking for a Rose Becker, who was born in 1927, approximately, from Indiana, Iowa, Illinois, and Idaho. Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry.
I made a lot of inquiries and phone calls, a lot of my disappointment, and then I did an ancestry DNA test and a 23andMe test to be safe. And when I received results showing no Beckers anywhere, I knew something wasn't quite right. I was DNA matched to a cousin named Norman, and he got in touch with his wife, and I got in touch with his wife, who was the family genealogist. Over the next year, I built a family tree, this is what this is about, is placing as many DNA matches into it as possible. And then I learned this family were all from Chicago, Illinois area. I was then told to reach out to a woman named Judy in Miami, and I sent her a letter. And within a couple of days, I received a phone call from a woman named Susan telling me that Judy is her half sister on her mother's side. I told her my story and I asked her to do a DNA test for me, an ancestry test, and she agreed. And then I learned the true name and family of Bella Fura, my biological mother. To my disappointment, I did find that she passed in 2003, so before I got to meet her. I have since started a good relationship with Susan. I found a half sister on my biological paternal side, and we have a very good relationship. And I found 7 half siblings altogether. 6 are alive, 1 has passed. 14 nieces and nephews, and I'm probably closing into over 100 cousins that I have listed and that I know who they are. So everybody sit back. I'm going to start my slides, and I'm going to do a little live tutorial on how to set up a tree on Ancestry. I only chose Ancestry because it's one of I know it more than all the others, and I find it very easy to use to build a family tree. And you can get a free account with Ancestry and start a family tree without having to pay anything and see if you like it. If you like it and you want to keep using it, then you subscribe, and only subscribe if you know you're going to use it. If you go month to month and you decide you're not going to use the program, don't keep paying for it monthly if you're not going to use it. I tell that to everybody I speak to now, because I hear so many people say, oh, I spent like thousands of dollars on Ancestry, I don't use it. Well, then cancel it. So that's
Or
the, yeah,
come to the library because it's
there you
free
go.
if you come to the library.
You can't build a family tree at the library one now, because any personal data you can't store on a public computer. So if you get it, you can learn how to use Ancestry. That's true. You can learn how to use Ancestry and their tools on the library site, and then go home and build a tree from a free site there. So I'm going to share my screen. You need to make me a host or give me
Or
sharing. Yeah, I forgot about it also.
there you go.
I'll go back to the beginning slideshow. Okay, everybody can see that, I believe, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to hide the video panel, and I'm going to hide this also so that I can see everything. Okay, so understanding family tree building and family trees. Okay, so how do I start a family tree? Best thing to do is gather your family documents that show the who, when, and where things occurred: births, deaths, marriages. These documents will verify what you may already know. For example, a birth record for your mother will verify her birth date. Getting information that you can verify is accurate is the best practice in starting your family tree correctly. Write everything down: stories you may have heard, recorded birth dates, death dates, anything that you can find that you know is going to be a document that you can verify that the information is correct. Fill out a family group and pedigree sheet to keep information together. A family group sheet helps you place information onto paper so you can refer back to it as you build your tree. This sheet helps you keep track of one family at a time: a husband, wife, and their children. It keeps your data in a simple format. My example on the next slide is readily available and is a PDF file. If anybody has a question on what a PDF file is, you can ask me at the end, that you can fill in online. So this is a picture of the family group sheet where you would store information and put information in on your computer. You would use your keyboard, and the spaces open up for you to put all the information that you see there so you can keep track of it, and they're free. So this is from PDF Filler. This only shows like the husband, the wife, and their children, one family group. That's why it's a family group sheet. Then you have a pedigree sheet. Pedigree sheet is used for your direct line only: you, your parents, your grandparents, and so on. This does not show uncles, aunts, cousins, or siblings. This is how most people create a family tree, but some people do an extended one, but I'll show you that also. The further back you go, the more ancestors you will need to add to the tree. It doubles every generation. So this is a 6th generation pedigree chart, and you can also find this at PDF Filler online. Just type in PDF Filler and you'll see it, and you can look for this chart. Or you could just plug in this chart in Google and you should be able to find one. Also allows you to put the information in each and every spot as you go along. Now, you might not know your great-great-grandparents, your second-time great-grandparents. You can always fill that in later. But I like this little optic because it shows you how many people you're truly related to. Okay, so after 10 generations, which is about 200 years or so, you have over 1,024 great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents. Okay. Then if you double that and go to over 20 generations, only 20 generations, you are related to, in direct line only, 1 million people. Okay, now this doesn't include siblings, aunts, uncles, or great siblings, great uncles and aunts and all that. This is just your direct line, 1 million people. So you probably have, after 20 generations, more like 8 million people. So just to get an idea of how wide and far your family tree can go. I get a little technical on this one because it's important for family tree building in a way. GEDCOM is an acronym standing for Genealogical Data Communication. It's a file specification for exchanging genealogical data between different genealogy software that was developed by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS Church. They are the world's biggest genealogists, as an aid to genealogical research. A GEDCOM file can contain information on events such as births, deaths, census records, ships records, marriage. A rule of thumb is that an event is something that took place at a specific time, at a specific place, even if the time and place are not known. Companies and products for building family trees. So now if you haven't started a family tree anywhere and you have it on paper and you want to use an online service, these are a few of them that I can recommend. Ancestry.com is a DNA testing company that allows you to build a family tree, save it online, and the ability to download the data so that you can use it in other places. Ancestry is a for-profit company. For full access to their tools, it is best to buy a subscription. They do offer a limited use free account, $24.99 a month for the US edition for their monthly account, and $37.99 for the World Edition. And you can upload a family tree, a GEDCOM file, to Ancestry. They do have the free one. If you're going to buy it for a whole year, it is cheaper, but make sure you're going to use it for the whole year before you buy a whole year. 23andMe is a DNA testing company that allows you to build a family tree, but they assist in building a family tree for you from your DNA test. You need to test with this company to use their tools and tree building, and the testing is $99. They do have sales. Always look for sales. Family Tree DNA is a family tree and DNA testing company where you can sign up for a free account. Limited family tree building is available. You can upload a family tree, a GEDCOM file, again, to this site for free. MyHeritage is mostly European-based, but it is getting more of a following in the United States. It's a DNA testing company that allows you to build a limited family tree for free. Subscription is required for larger tree builds. DNA Painter is a free website for genealogical tools. I just want to make sure everybody's still with me. You still there?
Still here.
Okay, good, because I got a little notification. I might have dropped a little bit. Okay, I will continue then. Where was I? I can upload a family tree. MyHeritage, a subscription is required for larger builds. DNA Painter is a free website for genealogical tools that feature the availability to upload your GEDCOM tree file or start from scratch. They also have other genealogical helpful tools. So there's a couple of really good software out there for building family trees standalone on your computer without having to go online and build a family tree on any of the other ones I just mentioned. Family Tree Maker 2019, and they do have an update for 2020, is a downloadable software product that is yours to keep and store on your computer. It is specifically designed to build custom family trees. It works with Ancestry and Family Search trees. The download for the software is $79.95. You can also get the DVD disc along with the download for $89.95. This software is very detailed and can be difficult for first-time tree builders, but with practice and usage, it gets easier to use and understand. There are tutorials all over the line for both of the software. So if you have any difficulty, if you buy one, you can always go to YouTube. There are hundreds of tutorials on it. Roots Magic is a company that works with Ancestry, where uploading your tree from Ancestry is available. Normally $44.95, but will discount for your subscription with Ancestry. Uploading your GEDCOM file is available. This company features a lot of different software to aid in your tree building and design. So I wanted to show you a family tree that I have. This is my main family tree, Furaskirky, my biological family. I did block out some names of the living just for privacy. And it just shows that this is an extended family tree. This involves everybody that you want to put on it. Remember, the family tree is your tree. You do with it as you wish. Add step family, all your cousins, aunts, uncles. This shows a lot of my family, but mostly my biological family and people that I had relationships with. This is a pedigree tree. This shows only your direct line, like on the pedigree chart that you can use. Let me just get rid of this again. Okay. So this shows my direct line directly from myself and my children and my spouse underneath me that I didn't open up. But it does show my line going back as far as I possibly can. So as you can see, I have one section that's still saying potential mother and father. This was an adoption of my biological father. So I know who his biological mother was, but I do not know who his biological father is. And like I was telling Stacy, I'd love to work on my own, but I've been so busy. I've been working on so many other things that I haven't really had a chance to add to it. I do have some clues, but I haven't really worked on it all too much. So a few more of my family trees. Now, this is the one from 23andMe that starts a tree for you from your DNA. It's not always going to be, the people are not going to be in the correct position all the time. You have to do your own homework to learn where the people actually belong. So this shows a small portion of what the 23andMe family tree looks like when it builds it for you from your DNA. And you can move the persons around in your tree to get them into the correct position once you know where they should correctly lie. This is a family tree from MyHeritage. Now, I didn't test with MyHeritage, but I did start a tree there through the GEDCOM file just to see what kind of family tree it's going to give me. Now, obviously, there's a lot more color involved in this one. It does have ability to put a picture in, birth dates, and all the other information. I did block out living persons for privacy again. And I didn't do a lot of building on this because I have trees in so many other places, it becomes redundant. I don't need a tree on 8 different places. 1 or 2 or even 3 is plenty, depending on what you want to use it for. So sharing your family tree. There are several ways to share your family tree with other family members and your DNA matches if you did a DNA test. Ancestry has a tool that allows you to share your tree within the Ancestry site by inviting someone to view, edit, or collaborate on your tree. You would need to have the username on Ancestry or their email address. You can also save your tree, as I told you, as a GEDCOM file, which allows you to move your tree to other software such as Family Tree Maker and Roots Magic, MyHeritage, Family Tree DNA, and Living DNA. It also allows you to move your tree into such sites as DNA Painter so you can analyze your information. So now, go to a new share. I want to go to this. Let me just stop sharing really quick because I can go back to that. Go back to that. Where am I? Share screen. Sorry about the delay, guys. Okay, so this is what you would see after you start an account with Ancestry. And I did my DNA, so I have my DNA on there as well. And I am sharing, right?
Yes, you are.
Okay, good. Okay. So this is a family tree. This is my homepage on Ancestry, and it shows the last thing I was working on, which is the Galley family research, which is my father's side that I've been working on. So it tells you, you can go to your tree, you can search for people on this page. It shows you what's happening in Ancestry, anything new they added. It also shows you the products and services that they have, places to do research, and you can add quick links, so it'll take you to certain collections of data and information you might be looking for. You can share your story, and you have a shoebox of hints that you might want to put into a certain spot, but not know exactly where they belong. You could put them in like a clipboard or a shoebox, as they call it here. So once you start in order to start your family tree, you want to go to trees, and then you want to go to create and manage trees. And as you can see, I have a lot of trees, and I also have trees that are shared with me. You go to family trees, and at the bottom, it says create a new tree. I'm going to create a new tree. And I'm going to add the home person. And I'm using my wife because she gave me permission. Her name is Gina, and I could put her last name as Migdal, which is my name, but I want to put her maiden name. With the females, you always want to try to go with a maiden name because it'll help you go back in time. Once she's married and she has a new name, you're only going to go forward in time on that name. So I know she's female and she is living, and I know her birth date. So we write it as a European style. So she was born the 24th of October, 1967. Okay. And I'll leave birthplace blank for right now, and I'll hit continue. And it shows that information. And then you want to add a mother. Now I know her mother is, and then you need to know whether she's living or not, because it makes a difference. So we know that a mother is passed. And I put in Rosalind, and I might not even spell it right, but we'll see what comes up. I know her maiden name, but I could have put Lander. So let me put Lander, since I might not even know what her name is, right? And then it'll tell you, name your tree. So I'm just going to leave it as a Lander family tree too, because I already have it. Allow others to view this tree. People marked living are hidden. How does this help me? Then you can always uncheck it and let other people see living people. But since it's just a test tree, I'm going to leave it that way, and I'm going to save the tree. Now, this is a public tree. You can make this tree private. That way, nobody can go in and see that you actually have the tree, or they actually have to ask your permission. They have to send you a message and say, will you open up my tree for me? They can ask you permission on Ancestry. So what I'm going to do is a quick search for Rosalind Lander. And you click on her name and you hit search. And it'll give you a lot of different people. Okay, now I don't think her name was Weed, but I do know that her maiden name was Clark. So now I have documentation, which is the most important things about family tree. If you have all the knowledge and paperwork already, if you have all the documents in your lap without having to go on and look for these documents, then of course, put in as much information that you have in your lap that you know is going to be true. If you don't have a lot of information, always try to find at least 2 or 3 pieces of evidence that prove a date, a birth date, a death date, a marriage date. That way you know you're working on the correct person. So I do know this is her. I'm going to click on this. This is a United States Social Security application and claim index. And it shows that I have it saved in several different trees already, because other people built trees. I built one for my biological family and my adopted family, and I have one for her already, and I have my brother-in-law has a tree. So it shows the trees where this is already saved. But I want to show you what kind of information you're going to find on it. I'm going to go on with the presentation soon also, but I wanted to give you a little information. So it shows her married name. It shows her maiden name. So I know this is the correct person. It shows where she was born, and now it shows her mother and father. So now I'm going back in time. Social Security number is very important also because it doesn't change. So if you find one document with her Social Security number and it matches another document, you can pretty much self-assured that the document is accurate and you're looking at the correct person. So then it gives you the option if you want to save this. So I'm going to save this to my tree. And it says, save this record to Rosalind Lander. or someone else in your tree, or your shoebox where you can store it for a later time. But I want to save it to Rosalind Carter. Now it shows you that I have a different spelling. I can click this and it will now change it to the information that I said, okay, so this is correct. It shows you a new information, and it shows you the new information of when she passed on. Now I can add her parents, right? So we know it's not a new person because it'll tell you you don't have anybody matching for that father. So you click on it and the information will transfer. And you click on it and the information will transfer over to your tree, and then you save it to your tree. And it takes a moment. Okay, so now if I go to the family tree, this is the profile for Rosalind Carter, or Rosalind Clark, and it shows her parents and her daughter, who is my wife, and it shows the information, but it shows where the information came from. Okay, so this is a source. This tells you where the information came from, so we know it's correct. So let's see if there's anything else we can find. So I go back to search. Okay, so now it'll show you more records that you might be able to find. Now it has a US birth index, and there's a picture, and I do know this is her. Okay, so I'm going to add this. I originally shared this for almost 4 years ago, but I'm going to save it anyway. So I'm going to go back, and I wanted to show you one other thing really quickly. So then I would want to go to Leo Clark. Let's find out what we can find about him, since I don't have any information. So here you have hints. Ancestry gives you little hints that might be the correct person on your information about the person on your tree, but you want to make sure they're correct. Now you can automatically go to Ancestry member trees and say, okay, their information might be correct, and grab it. But what if it's not? What if the information on those trees is incorrect? Then you're going to keep putting wrong information into your tree that someone's going to share, and then they're going to have wrong information. So here I want to go to, look, I found the 1940 United States Census, which is the last one that's available right now until 2022, where you can get the 1950 census. But here it shows Leo Clark, where he lived, and his spouse, Hattie Clark. But what's important, it shows a child. It shows Rosalind Clark. So now I have to believe this is the correct person, so I'm going to review it. You always want to review before you save so that you know the information is correct. And it'll tell you there's more to discover in this record. To dive deeper, you can start a tour. There's a lot of tutorials. So it shows his age in 1940, and it shows the daughter, age 2, which makes sense. Okay, it shows a lot of different things. He was a Pauler. He rented an apartment. So then I'm going to go down and I'm going to hit, yes, I want to save this information. And then again, it's going to show you all the information that you just grabbed. And if anything is new, it'll show you new. It'll show the residence and it'll show the name. Okay, so I'm going to leave everything the same. And I'm going to add his wife, who is her grandmother. And here's the daughter, already highlighted, so we know this is a match. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to save to my tree. I don't want to go too deep into this because the more I do, the farther and further you go back in time. But as you go and add more information about a certain person, you're going to get more hints. But always try to make sure that the information that you're grabbing is correct. Okay. So, I mean, you always want to make sure that the person you're grabbing the information on is correct, because I'm sure down the road, there is another Leo Clark somewhere that's going to have the wrong information. Okay. So I'm going to go back to close that, do that. right, where's my screen? I always do this. I apologize, guys. Oh, wait, there it is. I always have trouble getting back to my screen after the fact. Where are you guys?
Yeah, click on that one. If you minimize your screen, did it go underneath?
Yeah, probably did.
Because it's done that to me.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay, now I want to go back to share screen, and I want to go back to this one. Okay. So as I said, one of the most important aspects of building your family tree is documenting your family tree. Now that you saw a little bit how to build a family tree, and every software is a little different. There are tutorials all over the place on each and every one of them. Ancestry has their own tutorial page where you can learn how to use the software a little bit. If you invest a little time, you'll get used to it and you'll learn how to do more, but always make sure you try to document your information. It's important to document the true information about your family. Using information from other person's family trees is a great way to help you build a tree, but be careful about them having wrong information. Look at it and decipher that the information is correct, then add it. Birth certificates, baptism, marriage, death records, census records, as I showed you, military records, immigration records, city directories, also known years ago as the white pages. These are good things to input as documents into your family tree because it shows a timeline of when things happened. Where to find these documents? So Ancestry has over 20 billion records. As I started showing you, they have tons and tons of records about your family, and I'm sure you'll find a few. Death, birth, marriage, immigration, free accounts available, like I said. Family Search is a nonprofit organization and website offering genealogical records, education, and software. It is operated by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and is closely connected with the church's family history department. It is free, no subscription necessary. You sign up, you put in a username, you create a password, and you create an account. Full 3 features premier collections of original military records. These records include the stories, photos, and personal documents of the men and women who served in the military. Many of the records come from the United States National Archives, the National Archives of the United Kingdom, and other international records. Premium membership is about $80 per year. Newspapers.com is the largest online newspaper archive consisting of 617 million plus pages of historical newspapers from 19,600 plus newspapers from around the United States and beyond. Newspapers provide a unique view of the past and can help us understand and connect with the people, events, and attitudes of an earlier time. Cost is about $19.99 a month. They do have specials and they always have yearly subscriptions, which are a little less. So always check that out. But if you're going to use it, use it. If you don't use it, don't keep subscribing. Cancel it. Redo it when you up it when you're ready. So the census information, like I showed you, has a lot of information on it that can help you put information on about your family tree. Not all of it is going to help you build more into your family tree, but it's good to have documentation of where they lived, where they were born, their marriage status, the genders, their race, whether they lived on a farm, how old they were at their first marriage, are they able to read and write. Immigration year and naturalization is a very important thing because it'll add to your information about where your ancestors came from. Then you can track them over the Atlantic into Europe, where most people actually came from. their occupation, the industry, and whether they were employed. So these are some of the things you're going to find on the census, which is a very big source of information for your documentation of your family members on your tree. So this is a 1930 census. This is an actual picture of the actual document that's archived for Ancestry and other locations online. So you can see it's highlighted because I did a search and it shows this is from 1930 Chicago, Illinois, Cook County, and the district number. And it has the address sideways at the bottom on the side here. And it tells you the address of where they live, the house number. It tells you the people who lived in the household, and it shows, of course, their neighbors next to them, above them, below them. So this is a two-story building in Chicago that still stands. It might have been rebuilt as a two-story, but you can see there are 10 people living in this apartment that he paid $25 a month rent for. Okay, it shows the sex, it shows whether they know how to read or write, whether they're in school, and where they were born. So this is all great information. If you know where somebody was born and when approximately they were born, how old they are in 1930, you can then add to your tree by tracing your family back further. The more you know, the more you can trace. Obituaries can show a lot of information about the family. Sometimes it can show almost the whole family and sometimes very little information. It usually tells you the date of death, place of death, and where the person is buried, and when a funeral was held. Obituaries are most times written by a family member and posted in a local newspaper. They can provide information about the rest of the family. So this is an obituary for my he is my great-grandfather, okay, Louis Rossignol. And it shows that he was the husband of the late Maria Nee Halper. Nee meaning this is her maiden name. She was originally a Halper. They call it Halper, but it's actually an A, it's Halper. Loving father of Hattie. Okay, now if I'm building a tree, now I know who his wife is. I know who his children are. Yet the women, the females, his daughters, do not have the same last name. So meaning, obviously, they are married already. So now I have their married name so I can find out information about them while they're married, since I don't know who they are. And I can trace them back to their maiden name. So Hattie Rossignol Reiter. And I can find information about her through that name. But it also shows a Heinzel, a Grossman, and a Bessemer. Leo, Charles, Walter, and one son in Louis in Austria, all going to have the Rossignol name because they're not female, so they didn't change their name. Grandfather of 15, who I managed to find all of them, and great-grandfather of 7. And I do have, I think, 5 of the 7 that I know who they are. So it gives you an idea of the family unit and helps you decide and find out who the other people are, his wife and his children, to help you add to the tree. So this is the portion of the tree I used that information from. So as you can see, I have the Grossman family, but I have the maiden name, Mary Rossignol, and her husband, Raymond Grossman. She is my grandmother. He is not my grandfather because Skirky is my grandfather. That's the line I don't have built yet. But it shows Augusta, who is Gussie, and it shows all the other members of the family that I was able to find. And then I'm able to bring them down and build the family tree for all my cousins that I have down here. So this shows the other bottom portion of the family, where the last name Heinzel came from, and my cousins here. And the Reiter family and my cousins, and the Bessemer family and my cousins, and the Rossignol family and my cousins. So as you build, you're going to have more and more people in your tree. Mine is very big. So I wanted you to understand a little bit about how cousins work, because I get this question on every presentation I do. It doesn't matter what it's on. So this way I can give you a little tutorial on this as well. Understanding cousins and removed relationships. When someone says, she's my first cousin once removed, what does that mean? Okay, so this lady is my first cousin once removed. What that means is her great-grandparents are my grandparents. We are off by one generation. For every cousin, like first cousin, there's going to be a G, grandparent, 1G, first cousin. Always go by the lesser of the number. So it wouldn't be second cousin because her great grandparents, but it's my grandparents that we share. Okay. She is off by one generation. The second one is second cousin, one time removed. Her great great grandparents, she's older than I am, are my great great grandparents, or my two times great grandparents. So we're going by the two G's, the smaller amount, great grandparents, two G's, second cousin, off by one generation, great great to great. And the third one, oh, sorry about that. The third one is a half first cousin once removed. His grandfather is my great grandfather, but his grandmother is not related to me. That creates the half cousin. This is on my paternal side. And as you can see, the second cousin once removed and the half first cousin once removed are within the same amount of centimorgans, or the amount of shared DNA that we share. They're only off by a little bit because they fall in the same category. But another way of looking at it is the child or the parent of your first cousin is your first cousin once removed. So it can go up or down. But because it's a parent or a child, that person is your first cousin once removed. Actually, the parent would be your aunt. So let's scratch that. The child of your first cousin is your first cousin once removed. I need to fix that. Publishing or displaying your family trees. There are a variety of software that will enable you to print and publish your family tree to hang on a wall or to share copies with other family members. Family Tree Maker makes it easy to import your family tree and to work on it as you go along. You can adjust the tree to your liking and choose the format. Oh, I have typos. Choose the format of the tree you wish to print out. You can then frame the tree for display, or you can share the tree with others in your family. Family Tree Maker has options on size, shape, and design. MyHeritage also allows you to download family tree charts for your wall. I'll give you a couple of examples. So this is from Family Tree Maker, and when you use their tools, you can print out as a PDF file a chart that shows you your family tree. And this is called a family tree, a bow tie family tree. As you can see, it's shaped like a bow tie, obviously. And it'll have the information about your family. These are direct lines to you, from you. Okay, so this is you in the center, and then mom and dad, and then mom's family, dad. This is actually my mother. This is my mother and my grandparents, and then their parents. So her grandparents. And then going back in time, you would have more and more names as you go along. So this is one way you can download a chart and save it or frame it. There are others that you can use. So this is another one from MyHeritage, and I think it's a little classier. It's a little more, wall for the wall, really. This just shows a small portion of a tree I put on there for explanation, and it does show the name MyHeritage, which I think you can get rid of if you pay them for it. And it gives you a small chart of your family, and they have different formats that you can change this into. I actually might add a couple more of those to show different aspects of it. But if you use the software, you'll learn how to use it a little more as you go along. And then you can play around with it. But I just wanted to show you that there are other charts available, and a lot of the other softwares have different charts and family trees that you can print out or share with everybody. So overall, family trees are fun and learning. Most people start family trees to learn more about your family history and to see how people are related to each other. Some people use family trees to find family they do not know about yet. Adoptees, like myself, use family trees to unravel the mystery of their birth and who their family members are, which I was very successful at doing. Family trees can help build a larger family by connecting family that has been long since separated by time and distance. Family trees are a fun and exciting hobby for anyone in the family. Had to throw that in there. I like that. So this is my biological mother, Bella. I don't have a lot of pictures of her. My sister Susan, who would have all the pictures, is very slow in getting them to me. This seems to be in the 1950s or so, based on her hairstyle and her age. And meeting family is very important to me also. After finding out who everybody is, I wanted to get to meet some of them. I'd love to meet more. COVID made it harder for me to travel. But one side is my half cousin, one time removed, Norman Fura in Titusville, Florida. I got to meet with him, and my wife and I got to meet with him when we went from Orlando to Titusville for a brief visit with him and his wife, who did all the genealogy and gave me a lot of great information. And the other side is my loving sister, Linda. She's a half sister, but we don't consider her halves anymore, or steps, just a sister. And we got to meet down in Washington, D.C. She flew up from Tennessee, and I drove down with my family, my wife and stepson, to Washington, D.C. And we spent 4 great days at the pool and seeing monuments and memorials and a lot of museums and a lot of great restaurants that we went to. So we had a really great time. So that was my main reason for really wanting to know who my family is, to get to meet them. It's great to know who they are, but if you never really get to meet them and know who they are, I sort of felt like I'm missing something. So I tried to meet a few. I got to meet a few other people as well. So this is my business information. In case anybody has any questions, simple questions I can answer for free, or any research work you want to hire me for, I have very good rates. Take down my number. You can call me, take down my email address. You can send me an email. You can get in touch with me through my webpage at itsallrelativegenealogyllc.com, on Twitter at iGenealogy, and I am a member of the National Genealogical Society in good standing. So just wanted to give everybody that information. I try not to solicit too much. I just let you know that's what I do. Besides giving presentations to these wonderful libraries and patrons, I also do this as my full-time business now, from being a mechanic for 18 years. I got tired of turning wrenches. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to say hello to everybody. You guys can unmute. I'm going to go to the chat window. I hope everybody enjoyed that. Let me fix my screen so you can see me a little better. There we go. Can you retrieve any information? Oh, let me start. You mentioned it would be plenty to have 2 or 3 family trees on sites. Why would you want to have more than one family tree, Bill? It all depends on what you're using it for. I use 23andMe as a family tree also, besides Ancestry, because 23andMe propagates the family tree for you with your DNA matches. So if a DNA match comes up on 23andMe that is not yet in my family tree, and I don't know where they belong, based on the amount of DNA I share with that person, 23andMe will put it in there, and it'll give me an idea of where they might be. From there, I can do research on if they're actually related to me that way. If they are not, I can then put them in the correct position. Different software has different tools, like Family Tree Maker and Roots Magic, that I also use a little bit for my family tree, have different tools and ways of manipulating the family tree. It shows you a different view. I can also print one out. I can share it easy because I can save the GEDCOM file like I can in most places and share it with other people. So, I mean, I use a couple. Not necessarily everybody has to have a couple of family trees, but in different places, meaning, I mean, I have like 30 family trees on my wall right now on my Ancestry because of people I help and family members. So, but different companies have different tools to use. So, for instance, DNA Painter is another site I mentioned where you can upload your family tree or build a family tree. And they, again, have different tools that you can use to analyze the information, maybe find an unknown relative. You can plug in information in a site in DNA Painter called What Are the Odds? And you put a family tree in there, and then you can propagate a hypotheses about a certain family member you're not sure about. So that's the main reason for that. Okay. So can you retrieve any information from Fold3 without a subscription? What about newspapers.com? They want you to have a subscription. Ancestry does have availability for you to buy a package where you can get an Ancestry subscription and Fold3 and or newspapers along with it for a certain rate. It's easier to have a subscription. They do have free weeks, like they actually ended a free week on newspapers and Fold3 recently. Look for them, go online, ask me, send me a message. I'll tell you when it's coming up. Go on my Facebook page. It's All Relative Genealogy, and look for me on Facebook. And I try to post what I can. I mean, I get busy, you know, we all get busy. I try to post when things are on sale. I try to post when things are free. I post things about when my next presentation is about other information. But can you retrieve any information without a subscription? Without a subscription, it's very hard to retrieve anything on those sites. But if you get a subscription for a month and you know what kind of stuff you're looking for, specific people, use it to the max. Use it as much as you can for the subscription cost for the month. If you stop using it, don't keep paying for the subscription. I tell that to people all the time. It's a waste of money. You can always, they don't care if you end your subscription. And unless you, I mean, have a really great rate and you're willing to pay for it without it, you can always go back and re-up your subscription when you're ready. What do the small leaves in the upper right corner of family tree picture signify? The little leaves on Ancestry are what they call hints. It'll propagate hints of records that you might be able to find about your family based on the information you have in your family tree. They're not always going to be about perfectly correct about it's the correct person in your family tree. So always make sure that the information you're looking at is actually your family before you put it as a source, because it'll add information to your tree that might not be correct. But they're called hints. And the more hints you have, it's usually when you have enough information about the person, like when I put in my mother-in-law, Rosalind Clark, and I had her birth date, and then I added information about where she was born and who her parents are born, that's going to give me more correct information in the hints because it knows more information. The more it knows, the more it's going to give you correct information. But you always want to make sure the information you're grabbing is for the right person, obviously, because then you're going to be adding wrong information. You don't want to do that. Does Family Search site use the same documents as Ancestry? Yes, and more, and sometimes less. It's a hit and miss. Family Search is a little different in how you use it, but it's similar in a lot of other ways. They do have a search window. You want to put the name of the person you're looking for in quotes. For instance, if you're looking for John Smith, don't put just John and Smith. Put quote John Smith, end quote. It'll put the whole name John Smith together. If you put in John Smith, it's going to look for all the Johns, it's going to look for all the Smiths, and you're going to have 100 million documents to look through. If you can narrow it down by his birth date, always use the filters on the search engines to make your list smaller. Like if you know if you go to a search window and it gives you the option to choose United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Africa, Asia. You know he lived here in the United States his whole life. He was born here, he died here, he didn't move anywhere out of the country. Hit North America, hit United States, hit the state you know where he's from, that he didn't move to. Yeah, if you can pick several states, North Carolina, South Carolina. That way you can narrow down your search. Always narrow down your search for documents as best you can. Sometimes it's not easy because you don't have a lot of information, but always try to narrow your search documents. So yeah, Ancestry and Family Search have very similar documents. They're all from the United States Archives. They're all from Fold3, newspapers, any articles they have. Obituaries are very good for Family Search. But yeah, always look around. And if anybody wants suggestions on other places to look for information, just send me an email and I'll gladly answer you. have a direct message, a file. Okay. I don't know what the document is. All right, I'm going to hold on answering that. Oh, did somebody send a file, Stacy, that they posted a file on there? It says to the library or to the library, and they added a file.
I don't know. I do not see that, and I did not do that.
Okay. All right. So
Nobody that can hear us sent him a file.
no. Okay. All right. I'm going to leave it for now because I don't know where it came from. So I don't want to throw something on my computer. I don't know where it's from.
I would leave it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, I mean, you guys can unmute if you want to chat. You look like a very nice couple over there. Shirley, how are you? I see you brought somebody in. You can unmute, hit the unmute
Brought in
button.
Glenn.
Hi, Glenn. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And there's somebody on a phone, and then there's Susan, and then there's someone named iPad. It's a strange name. So I'm just teasing. So do you guys have any questions, Shirley or iPad lady or Susan? Or
Stacy, are you going to send us the link to it? Because unfortunately Glenn was shoveling.
Yes. Yes, I am.
shoveling? What's shoveling?
Yeah, yeah.
Never ending around here.
We're supposed to get 8 to 10 starting tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So we just finished with 2.5 foot last week. Yeah, 31 inches in my town. So yeah, it's piled up. The dog is having a ball digging through it all. It really, we didn't know how he was going to react. He's not a big dog. And we didn't know how he loved it. He loves it.
Eric, I have a question, if
Sure.
you don't mind.
Not at all.
I've been tracing my family using basically census records, basically. And I've gone back to about 1850 for sure. I've got a great grandfather that's in Jefferson County, New York. It's northern New York. He says he's from New Jersey. In the census records, where were you born? It says New Jersey. And then 1860, 1870, 1880 census, the same thing, New Jersey. How do we go about figuring out where in New Jersey? How do we trace that?
And you may have answered this. But
Hmm?
he wasn't here.
I apologize if you've already went through that kind of thing.
Oh, no, I do that sort of thing. As you know, when you look at that census from 1850, there's very little information on there. You
Yes,
get back
there is.
that far, it tells you who the head of the household is and how many kids they have, pretty much. It doesn't even really list the kids all that much at that far.
But it's got their age ranges, so you can kind of figure out if that makes sense, if that's the right person.
Right. Yeah, you can base it on that. You can well, you'd have to figure out when he was born, sort of, approximately.
And I know that within a couple of years, it varies between 1817 and 1819.
1817 and 1819. All right, so then you would, I mean, if he was born in New Jersey, how quickly did the family move? You would have to try to see if you can get that person and locate them on an earlier census, 1830, 1820, when he was first born, and look for a very small child in New Jersey under that name. Let's see, what else can I suggest on that one?
I don't think there's birth certificates or things like that go back that far. I don't think.
I mean, at certain times there was. Look for, let's see, if he was born in Jersey, then most likely his father was from Jersey at one time.
I don't know his father's name at all.
Well, look for death records too. Look for death records, look for birth records. I know it's hard once you start going back to the early 1800s. A lot of people didn't keep birth records. They had children in home. They didn't go to a hospital. They didn't have a midwife. Nobody wrote it down. Bibles. Are they Christian? Are they Christian?
Yeah.
Okay, so look into churches also. Contact local churches of where where he might have lived. I mean, exactly where in New Jersey, that's a tough one. It is.
Right.
Because of the time period and when they were, where they were from. Not really where they were from, but for the time period. There's a lot of rough information to find, how to go back 1840s or so, 1830s. But
Right.
keep looking at the census. You have a very popular, very common name.
Well, wrote ROAT, which may be derived from something else. I've seen things where it comes from Roth or Rhodes or who knows what else. And the
Yeah,
census, A's and O's look very similar, so I can't be sure it's a road or a route kind of thing.
Okay, so any documents that you have an issue with handwriting on, look on Facebook there's a lot of genealogy sites. There's a site you want to take down names. It's called GAA, Genealogists Addicted Association, something of that nature, GAA.
Right.
They have a library one. They have a one that does for tombstones. Try to see about cemeteries.
I found his tombstone, and so
Okay.
I transcribed from that, but that doesn't give me any hints as to where he's from or his parents' names or anything else.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to keep going back on census, obituaries, any kind of death record you can find him might have information. A death record might show his parents' names, and then you can go from there, because once you know the parents' names and they're probably from New Jersey, then you can maybe go that way. I mean, I don't know if I can be that great of a help right now, but
Yeah, well, yeah,
that-
it's a general question.
yeah, it's tough sometimes when you go back that far. I have a client, her great grandmother was born in North Carolina in 1876. The issue with that is it's not that far back, but she's African American. Before that, they were slaves, unfortunately.
Right.
So they weren't listed as a name, they were listed as property. So
Yep.
it's very hard to find out who her parents were, because her parents were most likely born into slavery. So then there's very little information. But the woman said, "Oh, am I Native American?" And she did her ancestry, and I'm like, "No, you have no, you're pretty much black with a tiny bit of English Scottish in you."
Yeah.
So Europeans invaded her family line because of that's just the nature of it was. But also, have you done an ancestry DNA test or a 23andMe or anything like that?
No, I have not.
If you're really looking to go back further and you want to try that, you can always do that. You can contact me if you're interested. I have them available. What it would do is, even though it's really far back, it's going to give you a list of cousin matches. And then what happens is do you have the family tree on Ancestry?
Yeah, there is one on Ancestry.
Okay, so if you have that person in Ancestry, when you go to search, go to the left side, go all the way to the bottom and look for people that might have family trees. Now, I'm not saying copy the information directly from somebody you might find that has a family tree with that person's name and age on it, or birth date approximately, but you might be able to find more information. Somebody might have it.
Well,
And you might-
I've done that several years ago, not recently. And I found some relatives on other people's trees that I know they're not related. So I think people are grabbing names, and if it's the same name, they assume they're related and throw it on their tree.
Again, like I said, it's one of the biggest issues we
Yeah.
have with family tree building is people taking wrong information. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
But I
mean,
haven't done that kind of thing recently, so I should do it again.
yeah, go back. A lot of people have tested over the last couple of years if you haven't done it. So, and if you haven't done the DNA test, do it. If you want to do an ancestry DNA test, it's pretty simple, but it'll have you match with DNA relatives that could be, let's say you said what, your third time great?
Yeah, I think so.
Third time great. So that's great grandfather. So that's 4 G's. 4 G's is fourth cousin. Okay, so you might find some fourth cousin matches that also might have trees. That's probably the best way to go about it. Try to find any records you can. I know it's tough.
Yeah.
I even from a genealogist standpoint, from all the research and all the training I did. Once you get back to the 1840s, go on Facebook, a lot of groups, GAA, ask genealogy, just ask. Hold on.
Glenn, I'm curious, did you say this person ended their life in Jefferson County?
Yes,
Were you ever able to find an obituary in
I found his obituary, yes, but it's a little, it's 2 lines. And
That's
it is-
it?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Like I told you,
I've got a little bit of information, he was a first mate on a steamer in sailing in Lake Ontario. He's a postmaster for a couple of years.
oh,
I've got that kind of stuff I've gotten from newspapers and things. And I've joined the Jefferson County Genealogical Society, hoping to get some information from them. So,
Do you have any information that says if he has a sibling?
oh yeah, I've traced his, oh no, I don't know about siblings. I've traced his children and their children and got all the way up to me.
Oh, wow.
So I've done that kind of stuff. I think I know relatives, aunts and uncles and cousins based on that. But I don't, no idea for siblings for him.
What about his wife? Maybe if you got information about her, it might lead to some kernel that would help you with him.
And I've done a little bit of that, but not a lot. I know his wife. I know his wife's parents, I think, if I recall correctly.
Was the wife from Jefferson County?
Yes, she must have been. I think she was from Vermont originally. Although no, I might be confusing her with somebody else.
Okay.
I think she said she was born in New York. And I think there's an aunt, one of his children's wives was from Vermont, I guess is what I'm thinking of.
all right. So I'm putting, I put in the chat window a link to a Facebook site for obituary lookups. You would have to, when you go in there, if you're looking for an obit, you sort of have to know the state and approximate death date, and they will look it up for you as well. And I'm going to give you another one here. Hold on.
Oh, that's neat.
Could somebody help me here?
Sure.
Oh, maybe it's here. Hold on.
If you click in the chat box and you scroll down, it'll be the last message.
To everyone. Okay.
Oh, you know what? I think you just sent it directly to me, Eric.
Okay, hold on.
Can you here? I'll send it to everyone if I
You know what? If
Get
you
it
send
full
it to everyone, that would be great.
if I can. If it'll let me. Copy.
No, this might be the file.
I did find his obituary using the Fulton newspapers website.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with that. And I don't know if it was in more than one paper or not.
From where?
There's a Fulton newspapers or something like that. He's been scanning newspapers for years, and he's got a huge database in his website.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the best way to do it is to go on sites online, Google the guy's name, anything you can possibly find to get any more information. That's the hardest thing, is when you go back in time. Some people didn't keep good records. Some people did. Go to familysearch.org.
Right.
And look for anything they might have. It might show the listing of the father. I have a similar. I had to tease him. I saw him pop he's a stalker. I had to pop his head in there. But yeah, familysearch.org is good. Father's names. I have a similar also one, but this goes back to I'm looking for somebody's 4th time great grandfather, and we have his son and when he was born, and we have everything and where he was from. But I also contacted the Mennonite church in the area he lived in, because it was a very large Mennonite community. the Amish, and they kept decent records, but they didn't find anything. It was from, I'm trying to remember, 1780s or something around there. And
Wow.
so yeah, it's a little tough once you go back far enough. So, do we have any other questions?
Eric, I tried the Facebook link that you sent out, but it's not
Yeah.
working.
Okay. Let me see. I opened it up. Did it go to mine?
I get this
Oh,
page isn't available.
Oh, really? Okay. I
Yeah,
opened
but
it came
maybe
right up.
somebody else should try it because I don't use Facebook anymore, so I don't know if it's because of that.
If somebody
I
clicks
just
the
looked
link,
and it worked.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it could be because I don't have a Facebook account.
yeah,
I
if you
just wanted
click
to
on
make
it.
sure before you left that if it worked or not.
Okay, so if you click that, there are a couple that are coming up. There's GAA, Genealogy Addicts Anonymous. And then if you go down, there's Genealogy Just Ask. And then I think the fourth one down that came up is Free Obit Lookups. That's the one you want. It's a private group, but if you join it, they'll let you in. They now have a $1 entrance fee. Oh, that's BS. That's really BS. I don't charge anything for my group. They're trying to make money for somebody. Genealogy with Jan and Nora. There are a bunch of them. So look up genealogy groups. And then once you start getting into a few of them, you can start asking some questions. You can ask me. If I can do a little research for you for free, I'll be willing to do a little bit for you if I can find something. But sometimes I tell my clients, I mean, yeah, you pay me, but you pay me to do research. And if I can't find anything, unfortunately, I mean, I really do try, and I do give a lot for my time. I give for the money that people spend with me. There are plenty of times I will not even click on Clockify to record my time, and I'm just browsing through something, and I'll look and spend 10, 15, 20 minutes on somebody's case, and I won't even have it on Clockify. It's just a hobby and a passion, and then I start getting so involved, I forget, oh, I'm not charging for the time. But yeah, check out the groups, historical societies, churches. I've been doing that for a lot of my clients now, looking through places like that, because if anybody's going to have it, it might be a church, it could be a historical society, there could be a book out there. If he was a postmaster, if he was a postmaster back then and he served on a ship, there might be some actual books, his name listed in a book. So look for books with his name in it. There might be could be a paragraph or two, and it could mention where he came from, New Jersey, or it could mention his father's name or a sibling's name that might help you lead to another family, to another line.
How do I find books that he might be in?
Google.
Yeah, Google search and like put his name in quotes and then the word and then New Jersey
And
and see if it calls anything up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just sometimes it sometimes just takes time and a little luck.
Yeah. It's all about persistence.
Right. Like I DNA, just for instance, even though it's a little bit off topic because it's DNA, but I matched with a DNA cousin that I knew was not on my paternal mother's side. Okay. They had no relation to the people I found on his mother's side, but I knew it wasn't on my mother's side. So I knew it had to be my father's side. Now, how do I find more information from a small DNA match? Is I went and I contacted them. So that's why sometimes DNA works, because once you get the DNA and you have the person's name and they're on Ancestry and they're a third to fourth cousin estimated, because Ancestry will only estimate your relationship based on how much DNA you share with the person. And a lot of people do not share DNA with even their third or fourth cousins. But if you do the Ancestry and you find people who are third, fourth, even fifth cousins, anywhere between, let's say, 15 centimorgans up to 60 or 70 centimorgans are going to be third to fourth cousins. Now you make a list of those people and some of them might have trees listed. If the ones that don't have trees listed, if you can build a tree from them, from these matches, then you can get back further in time. Someone might have information, not all the time, but there's always an option of DNA, churches, Bibles, historical societies, books with his name on them, especially since he has to be listed somewhere as postmaster, right?
Well, yeah. There was one of the documents I saw, it's just a listing of postmasters and
And that was it, right?
the years he served, yeah. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's a little tough, but yeah, I mean, you just got to keep plugging. That's the way it goes sometimes.
And searching old newspapers, see if there's articles that come up with his
Anything, right.
name that. And you know, one good thing about the 1800s is that in the newspapers, they had what I call very chatty articles,
yes,
just
Right.
filled with things
They
we would
did.
not find in our newspapers today.
Mr.
You
and
know.
Mrs. Smith went by buggy to visit her
Yep.
aunt
Exactly.
Lori in 3 towns over.
Yeah, and you just never know what little jewel might be sitting right in a newspaper waiting
Yeah.
for you to find it.
Yeah, I've got an aunt of some sort, one of the relatives from Jefferson County, and there was a newspaper article that she just returned from a visit to Canandaigua. Well, this
Right.
was early 1900s. I can't believe she'd go to Canandaigua as a teenager without going to see a relative.
Right.
So I
yeah,
gotta believe there's a relative in the Finger Lakes area.
right. So
I
they
would
have
think.
parties. People had parties.
Yeah,
If they had a little money. Usually the families that would post things of that nature, if it wasn't like a birth announcement or a marriage or a death,
yeah,
an obituary, if they bye, thanks for joining. If they didn't know, you know, if they were having a party or they were going to visit somebody, they didn't usually take out an ad in the newspaper to tell somebody. They had to pay for it. The newspaper wasn't doing it for free, so they had to have a little money to a couple of shillings, a couple of pence. You know, I mean, you're going back to the early 1700s, they did the same thing. Yeah, there are also, if you don't have handwriting issues with what old script looked like, there are tutorials on what old handwriting looked like, and there are plenty of groups on Facebook and YouTube videos on how to decipher old handwriting. That's a good one for me, because once I start going further back in time and they start writing that fancy dipped pen ink,
yep,
quills,
yeah.
muskets.
Well, I think in the census, it seems like it's more like sloppy handwriting than anything else that it's.
Yeah, well, I got lucky in some of mine that had very good handwriting. So when they transcribed it, everything was correct when they
Yeah.
put it into text for me. Some weren't so great. Some were a little harder.
Well, they interchange the letter F and S also.
Yeah, going back that far. Yeah, the F and the S. That was crazy.
That'll mess you up.
That'll mess you up. Yeah. And then they had double flares and all that.
Yeah.
And everything. Yeah. So, all right, guys, I don't want to keep you too
Right.
long. I have a presentation
you.
later on the same thing. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You learned something a little bit, and try to stay warm. Don't shovel too much,
Yeah, of course not.
Yeah.
and get a plow. Do what we do. I hire somebody. I have a 100-foot driveway, more than 100-foot driveway, and I do not want to shovel the 3 foot we had. And the guy who
Right.
came didn't even have a good plan, because he didn't look at the house beforehand to know where to put the snow. So it was a little bit of chaotic situation. And then we're going to try to keep up on it with this snowstorm if we can, so we don't have to pay anybody. But sometimes you just have to.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you
thank
guys for
you.
coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A very nice presentation.
Yeah,
if you
and
have-
I'll be sending a link out, so glad
And
you
if
can
you-
catch up on what you missed.
Thank you.
Thank
and-
you.
You're welcome. And if you guys want any more presentations done, I have a few others that I can.
Yeah.
Come here, Rocky. Come here. You gonna let me pick you up? Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here.
That's a puppy.
Rocky, say hi.
Hi.
Rocky, say hi.
Hi, Rocky.
Hi, Rocky.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks so
Welcome.
much.